So, welcome to our college readout and the ensuing press conference. We have the pleasure of having with us today Commissioner Glenn Micallef, responsible for intergenerational fairness, youth, culture and sport. And Commissioner Micallef will do the college readout and then the press conference on the 2025 Strategic Foresight Report. Commissioner, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Paula. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our college readout. First, we discuss the 2025 Strategic Foresight Report titled Resilience 2025, which I will present in more detail shortly. Second, we adopted a communication on the allocation of loan amounts to member states under SAFE. Executive Vice President Verkunen and Commissioner Andrius Kubilius will come to the press room to share its details at the end of this first press conference. That's it for the readout of our college meeting. Let me now jump immediately into the topic of this press conference, the 2025 Strategic Foresight Report. So today I presented in college the first Strategic Foresight Report of this new mandate. And I have to say the timing of this report is just at the right time. We have the Strategic Foresight Report today, the President's State of the Union speech tomorrow, and the kickoff of the European Citizens Panel on Intergenerational Fairness this Friday. This means that this week is focused solely on Europe's future. The Strategic Foresight Report is a bridge between the foresight work of the last Commission and the new mandate. So before delving deeper into the substance of the report, I would like to say a very short word about the process. Because of all the major reports and the reflections we had in 2024 and 2025, we decided that this year we would draw on this intelligence. Because there is a lot of value in stability, in predictability, and in focusing on the implementation of these valuable contributions. Contributions such as the Letta, Draghi, Ninisto reports and the strategic agenda. That's why this is a transition report, because it tries to bridge the work of the last and the new college. And very importantly, this foresight report builds on the preparedness strategy presented earlier this year by Commissioner Labib and Executive Vice President Menzatu. Because if preparedness is the emergency kit that we have for crisis, through foresight we try to build an immune system. Let me now turn to this year's report, titled Resilience 2.0, Empowering the EU to Thrive Amid Turbulence and Uncertainty. To give some perspectives, to put things against the background, the global order has changed considerably since the Commission adopted the first Strategic Foresight Report in 2020. Then, the theme chosen was also resilience. And we had identified lessons in strengthening resilience of the European Union. These were valuable lessons which were coming at a crucial time. But the current situation requires us to recalibrate our approach, to reach a new level of resilience. We need a leap beyond the reactive approach towards a more proactive and forward-looking one. And with foresight already embedded successfully into our policies, we have a solid foundation to build on. And I'd like to illustrate this point with some examples that clearly speak to the European Union's successes and the lessons that we have learned. Four examples in particular. First, we are and we continue to be stronger when we act together. The joint purchases of gas and the joint purchases of vaccines when we had the COVID-19 pandemic are the most visible successes that show us why uniting our efforts is crucial. 2, our collective resources give us a scale that no member state has when acting individually. We have a 450 million citizens strong market, 24 million companies, and 15% of world trade in goods in the single market. Point number 3. The European Union, acting together, has shown that it has the scale and the capability to mount a transformative response to crisis. And finally, we have shown that we can act quickly and decisively when we face crises. The SAFE instrument, which was adopted with record speed, and the Next Generation EU are visible examples of this. Looking ahead, there are three core elements that will be crucial. A resilient union in 2040 will be a peaceful European Union, a values-based European Union, and a European Union that prioritizes the well-being of its citizens. To deliver on these commitments, we must stay ahead of the curve, looking at both the long-term global developments as well as the EU-specific challenges that we face. Starting with the long-term global developments, there are three main developments that require our undivided attention. First, security. Security is and has become key for all policies. Everything can and could be weaponized. This impacts businesses, investment, social cohesion, prosperity, as well as the well-being of our citizens. Secondly, we are living at a time where the international rules-based order is changing. And for the Union, this is both a challenge and an opportunity. And finally, the impact of climate change and nature degradation. This has worsened significantly in the last years, and to give an idea, to put things into perspective, between 1980 and 2023, the economic losses as a result of extreme weather events amounted to €739 billion. Almost a quarter of these losses were incurred in a 2-year period between 2021 and 2023. The report also highlights 4 EU-specific challenges that we face. First, economic competitiveness and strategic autonomy. Both are essential for resilience and mutually reinforcing. They will depend on our ability to innovate and to compete. And here, digital sovereignty, critical raw materials, and energy security will be crucial. Second, a balanced approach to technology. We need to master the tech of the future, from science to deployment. This will be key not least to enable us to be at the forefront to ensure the best governance capabilities. Third, people's well-being and societal resilience. This is one of our core objectives, and the European social model continues to be one of our core strengths, but it is increasingly under strain. And point number 4, defending democracy and fundamental values in the digital environment, where most often truth can lose to clicks. From these challenges, the report highlights 8 directions for action. These 8 directions of action are building a coherent global vision for the European Union, amplifying internal and external security, harnessing artificial intelligence and the power of technology and research, strengthening long-term economic resilience and preparing for labour market upheavals, supporting inclusive well-being, reimagining education, strengthening democracy, and anticipating demographic transformation and strengthening intergenerational fairness. Let me stress the last point in particular, intergenerational fairness. And I am highlighting this especially because I am the Commissioner responsible for intergenerational fairness, but also because what is at stake here is whether we leave future generations with opportunities or with excuses. As I already mentioned in the beginning, on Friday we're starting with the European Citizens Panel dedicated to this topic. And I am indeed very much looking forward to having citizens contribute directly with recommendations feeding into the intergenerational fairness strategy, which I will present to College next year. This report is just the beginning, and it is a renewed call to embed foresight further into our policy tools, a call for a resilient Europe, and a call to make foresight transformative for our policies and for the Union as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, very much for your remarks. And on this note, we can now open for your questions. Are there any questions in the room? Or online? If not on the subject of this press conference, questions on any of the subjects covered by the remit of Commissioner Micallef? It does not seem to be the case. Then I would like to thank you, Commissioner, for your availability. And on this basis, we close our press conference on the 2025 Strategic Foresight Report, Resilience 2.0. But please do not go away, because we will proceed with a press conference with the presence of HRVP, with Executive Vice President Virkkunen and Commissioner Kubilius on the allocation of the loan amounts to Member States under SAFE. We should be able to start in around 5 minutes so that you do not need to wait much. Thank you, and see you in a few minutes.